The money that's sitting in your account is at risk because of three main reasons. The first one,
how can you print money? People still believe that money is pegged to the gold standard. It's not. So then what's money pegged to?
70% of people who inherit wealth will lose it. In the second generation, it's 90%.
I've got 100k, 150k, 200k in my bank account.
With 100 grand in 4 years' time, that 100 grand
is going to be worth less than 50.
I make 6 figures now, monthly, just on passive income.
Allahumma barik.
Alhamdulillah. And these are all real estate related investments.
Allahumma barik. You talk about 50% returns, right? This is unheard of.
In 2 years.
In 2 years, Allahumma barik.
One of my clients, he's an engineer. He was making $120,000 a year. But alhamdulillah, his net worth right now is 7 million plus. I have not touched RIBA at all since 2018. Automatically, you attract the caliber of people. Things that you learn just by being with them adds a lot of value to the project.
Hey, how does that feel? To help be a means that Allah used to help people become multimillionaires. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is a very important and urgent podcast that we put together because Muslims and non-Muslims alike are losing their wealth en masse. The religion of Islam came to protect 5 things, and from the things that Islam came to protect is the wealth of the slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But there's been a big discussion recently about how the middle class is being wiped out in the UK and the US and other countries alike. This conversation has been popularized by the likes of Gary Economics and other people online. It's trending and everyone is concerned. What's going to happen to us in the coming years if the middle class gets wiped out? The fact of the matter is that if the middle class gets wiped out and you are not from the rich at the time that happens, you will enter the poverty line. And the UK and the US is set to become like India, Brazil, and other countries. So in this podcast today, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to discuss how you can protect yourself by taking the assets and the savings that you have and putting them into investments such that you can earn passive income. Today, to help me do that, inshallah ta'ala, I've got brother Abu Bakr, who has taken a keen interest over the last few years into all things to do with the economy and economics. And he's going to help us to really identify what the problem is. And then we've got brother Sam, who Allah barik himself and his investors have consistently used strategies of investing their liquid cash into real estate investments that have brought them very, very high returns. And Allah barik, the brother himself is a millionaire and he's helped many of his investors become millionaires who were previously middle class. Now, I just want to mention here that middle class is a very broad term. In order to actually make passive income from investments, you already have to have some liquid cash there. So we're talking to those that have $100,000 plus in liquid cash that they're thinking, you know what, I actually want to be able to do something with this and make this money work for me such that I can enter the wealthy category and escape the middle class. For those that don't have that type of liquid cash, who still land in the middle class because they have a healthy income that comes in, investments might not be an option for you because obviously you need capital to be able to invest. But for you guys, definitely you need to start increasing your cash flow and your savings so you can gather that money as quick as possible and then put it into investments that will give you good high returns that stay ahead of the rate of inflation. Now, for those of you who want ways to make that extra money, I'm going to link you guys to a good friend of mine, brother Abu Lahya, who's helping people break into entrepreneurship. So you might be doing your own job or you're making a healthy living, but then he will help you break into being an entrepreneur through a very simple service-based business model where 100% of his students who make it through his program are seeing money within 90 days of them doing the program. So I'll link that below so you can check that out, inshallah ta'ala, and go through it in more detail and hopefully get some liquid cash so that you can be able to invest. So nonetheless, this podcast, I think it's important for everyone, whether you've got savings or you don't have savings, because you want to have savings and you want to know what to be able to do with it. But fundamentally, right now we're going to be providing solutions today for those that actually have capital to help protect that capital so they don't get wiped out. With that said, brothers, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, Abu Bakr, look, you don't know what you don't know, right? A lot of people that I found are not privy to how the economy runs. Even economic terms and financial terms, we hear them, we use them, but we don't know what they mean. I know a lot of people who are sitting here thinking, look, I've got 100k, 150k, 200k in my bank account. I've got healthy cash flow. They don't necessarily see the threat that's lurking on the horizon. I want to speak to our brothers and sisters who are in that situation and really articulate to them what's at risk here. Why is their money, why are their savings at risk?
So look, there's a lot of different factors at play, right? And even with the economy, like everyone you speak to will come and tell you different things. From what I've seen, there's three main things. Yeah, the money that's sitting in your account is at risk because of three main reasons. The first one is inflation and cost of living. Second one is taxes. And the third one is lack of financial education and discipline, right? So the first one, let's talk about that. Inflation, cost of living. So what is inflation? Inflation is like a silent thief. It will come and it will steal from you. You won't see it. You won't feel it. You won't realize it. Like your door's not going to get broken down. The numbers in your account aren't going to go down. The numbers will stay the same. But the purchasing power, what you're able to do with that money, will decrease. So, for example, I have 100,000 in my account, right? And let's say, for argument's sake, that the rate of inflation is 15%. That means every single year, that 100,000 loses 15% of purchasing power. So if I could buy something that's worth 100,000 today with 100,000, tomorrow, whatever's worth 85,000 today is what 100,000 will get me tomorrow. The way I've always found this works, like for me to really understand it, is with cars. Like if I was to open Auto Trader right now and I look at brand new cars at 100,000 pounds, I can get a Range Rover, I can get Mercedes GLS, I can get BMW X7, big brands, Porsche 911, I can get that brand new. I'm talking, obviously, second-hand market, it's there's other factors at play, supply and demand. Some cars will appreciate crazy, some cars will appreciate. We're talking about brand new cars. 4 or 5 years from now, if we say that the rate of inflation is 15%, for argument's sake, in 4 years, just 4 years, that 100 grand is going to buy you what 52 grand will buy you today.
Repeat that one more time.
So in 4 years' time, if you have 100 grand in your account and you don't touch it, you don't move it, you just leave it there in your account. Today, with that 100 grand, you can buy a Range Rover, you can buy a Porsche, you can buy a BMW X7 with 100 grand. With 100 grand in 4 years' time, if, and again, we'll get to the rate of inflation, how it works and how it's measured and what it really is, but for argument's sake, let's say 15%. In 4 years' time, you'll be able to buy a Kia. You'll be able to buy a BMW X1.
So what you're saying is that in 4 years,
In
your
4
purchasing
years,
power has halved.
that 100 grand,
Is going to be worth less than 50.
52. So just over half of what it's worth today
So
in purchasing power. So that's not something you're going to feel. It's not like someone's coming into your account today and taking out £48,000.
That's why it's a silent thief.
It's a silent thief.
look, for me, the best way that I kind of understood this was, even just like basic day-to-day things. I remember there was a time where a travel day card on TfL used to cost 99p. And then it became £12. Just a few years later, we used to get a travel card for 99p.
Food prices have gone up 23% in America.
Food prices.
Eggs have gone up 60%
In how long?
in 4 years.
In 4 years.
Wow,
Wow,
just post-COVID.
that's crazy. And you know what? And that's the thing, right? Is just that when these things are individual things are going up pennies or cents, 20 cents, 30 cents, 50 cents, $1. But when every single item that you're purchasing, it has gone up like that.
But let me ask you guys a question though. Officially, if we go to the Bank of England, if you go to, who is it is it the Federal Reserve or the
Federal
US
Reserve.
Treasury, or let's say the Federal Reserve, they can tell you it's 2%. In February,
What?
officially,
In America?
in February this year, it was 2.8%. It was down from 3% to 2.8% in
Inflation?
the UK. Inflation.
Isn't it 7%?
No,
Isn't that like the official figure?
no, it's 2.8%.
That was official figure right after COVID. But
Yeah.
now the official figure is, as Bakr is saying, like 2.8.
2.8 is in the UK. I'm not sure about America. In the UK, it's 2.8%.
But the thing is, how can that be when you just said food prices have gone up by have gone up by 20%?
Let me tell you guys how it can be.
Yeah.
This is juicy, right?
Okay.
Let me tell you guys something. In the 2000s,
Yeah.
in Argentina,
Yeah.
inflation was 40%. 40%.
Okay.
When you reach a level like that, it's very hard to recover. Very hard. You go into something called a death spiral. It will just feel like what happened in Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe,
Yeah.
they have
Hyperinflation.
$1 trillion coffees.
Yeah.
$1 trillion coffees, and they
the
print they
wheelbarrows
printed out.
with, like,
They ran out of
cash.
paper to print money. They couldn't print any more money. They ran out of paper to print money,
Oh.
right? So the Argentinian government, they tried to implement price controls. They tried to do things that are supposed to help, but it didn't work. So what did they do?
What do they do?
What do you think they would do?
They raised the interest rate.
No. They tried all that. It didn't work. They fired the statisticians who came up with that figure, hired a bunch of new people. Overnight, the way they measured inflation changed. The inflation was low. in the UK and America, they did this in 1980. The way they measure inflation now has changed. Ever since, in 1972, obviously Nixon depegged the dollar from gold and we became into fiat currency. If you measure based on that model, even Jordan Peterson, he tweeted about this. In 2021, according to the new model that they use, it was 6%. According to the old model, it was 15%. That's why I mentioned 15% earlier. If you use the old model that they were using up until that point, it was 15%.
Annually.
So if things are increasing, they halve the rate of inflation.
And now they've more than halved it.
Why? Because if the rate of inflation is 15%, your wages have to be going up by 15% every single year.
Right.
If obviously we don't believe in RIBA, right? But people that are depositing their money into banks need to be paying people 15% per year on their money. They can't do that. Right now, let's just say they make 10%. They're paying people 2.8%. So it's in the government's interest. It's in the interest of these ultra-rich, wealthy people to say that interest rates are low. And look, governments, bro, they're no strangers to lying and deception. Who are we to believe that these people are righteous? They're going to come and they're going to tell us the truth. How many examples do we have in history where either through sheer incompetence or just, like if you look at, do you guys remember the disaster in Chernobyl? The nuclear reactor, it blew up and exploded.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So at the time, this was it's in Ukraine, but it was during the Soviet era, right? Yeah. So at the time when it happened, right, nuclear reactor exploded. They went to measure it's called the radiation level, right? Rontgens, how much was it? And the device that they used, it said 3.6. So they reported back 3.6. People said, that's calm. That's a couple chest X-rays. That's not a mad level of radiation. It's fine. Move on. They played it down. They told the world it's calm. And that cost millions of lives, maybe not millions, but hundreds of thousands of lives because of the fact that they delayed. Why did they get 3.6?
Why?
What do you think?
They changed the metrics, how they measure it.
That was the maximum that device could go to. If I get a fat person and I put them on a scale that's made for food, and the food, and it can only go up to 1 kg, and a fat 100 kg man comes on that scale and says, I weigh 1 kg, that's a joke. Yeah. That's what they did. And then when they actually went and got a military grade device and went and measured, it was 15,000, bro.
Whoa.
And by then, I don't know how much time had passed, how many people had been infected.
3.6 to 15,000.
15,000. But why? Because that was what they had available and they just gave that information. China apparently had 0 COVID cases within a week of COVID breaking out. Like, governments are known to lie.
Yeah, of course. They're gonna skew their stats to keep the public calm, to make sure that people don't go crazy, don't go act wild. That's crazy, man. So look, you're telling me that in essence, I guess the way that they measure the rate of inflation in terms of change, it's kind of like...
Inflation is hard to measure. Let's address that, right? Inflation is hard to... Because look, you could turn around and say, bro, when I was buying phones 20 years ago, a Nokia phone cost me £40. And today it's £1,200. So that's 3,000% inflation. No, it's not, because that phone and this phone is very different. It's a completely different device now. Now you don't need, if you buy a phone, you don't need to buy a computer. You could actually get away with having a phone instead of a computer. You don't need to buy a camera. So it's like, it is hard to measure.
Okay, look, I don't want to throw people off, right? Let's go back. Their savings are at risk, right? Their cash flow is at risk because inflation is a silent killer, silent thief, that's coming and edging away at the purchasing power of your money every single year at rates that we don't even know. All we know is that things are getting more and more expensive, and someone who's got heavy cash flow might not see the difference, right? The guys that are working class are already seeing the difference because in the UK, people aren't able to keep food in the fridge and turn the heat on in the winter at the exact same time. I mean, that's crazy. Right? That's crazy.
Because if your wage isn't going up by the same rate everything else is going up, you can't afford the same things you used to be able to afford.
So if you're earning maybe like 2-3x more than what your lifestyle is, you might not see it, but you will see it in a couple of years. So the question I want to ask you, maybe Sam, you could jump in here, is what causes inflation? What's causing it?
In US, the major cause was post-COVID. The government printed and injected $8.2 trillion in the economy. That's 27% of the total money supply injected within less than a year.
27%
of the total money supply injected in the economy less than 2 years.
So, wow. And when you say injected, what do you mean by that?
Basically, government printed money. So out of that $8.2 trillion, $3.2 trillion was to just buy assets, what's called quantitative easing.
Quantitative easing, okay.
Yes, so they were just buying financial assets to ease up the market. And the other $5 trillion was pandemic aids.
So this
they gave these checks out to people. Even the UK did it, right?
Yeah, right. So something that I think is really important to discuss here, right? You know, when you say they injected money,
Yeah.
they printed money, one might think, but how can you print money? Because people still believe that money is pegged to the gold standard.
It's not. Since 1972, it hasn't been.
It's not for a long time.
So then what's money pegged to?
Nothing.
It's pegged to trust.
Trust in U.S. government.
Trust in the government. And primarily the US government, because that's the world currency.
And in the currency
World
they
reserve
put,
currency.
in God we trust.
This, when I learned this, I think about 6-7 years ago, I actually didn't believe it. Like I said, you're telling me that this money actually has no intrinsic value.
Nothing.
And it's shocking how I think over the last
you could go into the bank with a £10 note and say, I want £10 worth of gold.
Mm-hmm.
And you could do that because the currencies were pegged like that. But then America started playing games when they went to Vietnam, and suddenly
Nixon, right?
People wanted their gold back. And America was claiming to have more gold than they actually had because they'd actually spent a lot of it. Says, you know what, we're going to depeg it.
And it's supposed to be a temporary thing.
It's meant to be a temporary thing.
This is shocking to me how people till today don't know this. They don't know this. So there are many problems with that, but one of those problems is that you could just make more money.
Yeah.
But why is that bad? Like connect the dots for me. Okay, cool. I have $100,000. I print another $100,000. I've just doubled my money.
You doubled your money. So let's just say
the economy. You said 27% of the total amount that was present in terms of the US economy was basically added in those 2 years.
Yep.
Why does that cause inflation? Like connect the dots for me. For the people.
Let's talk in relative terms.
Yeah.
You've got £100.
Yeah.
He's got £100. I've got £100.
Yeah.
This is an economy. You hold a third of the economy.
Okay.
He holds a third of the economy. I hold a third of the economy.
Sure.
You print an extra 100. You now have 200. I have 100. He has 100.
Okay.
How much we have is still the same. But now I've only got 25% of the economy. You've got 50% of the economy now. So he's got 25% of the economy.
Yeah.
So
you just robbed me, brother.
Wealth has actually gone, like the percentage of the economy that we own has actually gone down.
Give that example again. Sorry.
You've got £100.
Yeah, I've got £100.
I've got £100.
Yeah.
He's got £100. We're trading with each other, we're doing whatnot, but the bottom line is we own a third of the economy each. Right?
1/3 each.
1/3 each.
Yep.
If you come now, and let's say you grow potatoes, he grows onions, and I grow what, we all trade with each other. But ultimately, because we're trading equally, we'll each own approximately a third of the economy each.
Yeah, the wealth is constantly
moving around.
Movement.
But at any given time, we've got a third. If you now come and print an extra 100, you just pull it out of thin air and say, yeah, guys, by the way, alhamdulillah, I've got another extra 100. You now got 200. You now
printed out. Okay.
You got 200. I've got 100. He's got 100. He's got 25% of the economy. I've got 25% of the economy. You now have 50% of the economy. Bottom line is, all of this affects the money that's sitting in your account right now today.
The rents have gone up 25% in the US post-COVID. 25%.
But the value of the property that they're renting hasn't gone up 25%.
No, so real estate, this is good a hedge against inflation.
Okay.
So the value goes up, but if they're renting the property, they don't own the property, right? So for them, it doesn't matter if the value of the property is going up or not.
It benefits the owner.
It benefits the owner.
Yeah.
Well, benefits, I think it's a hedge against the inflation.
Yeah.
So that's why real estate, one of the benefits of investing in real estate is a hedge against inflation. Because everything price goes up, real estate price goes up as well. So your purchasing power is being hedged against,
Very
right?
good.
But for tenants staying in the house, rent's gone up 25%, food prices have gone up 25%, gas has gone up, clothing has gone up, but the income, like Brother Abu Bakr mentioned, has not gone up 25%, probably not even 2-3% in the last 4 or 5 years, right?
Yeah, so the point is, if your savings aren't increasing in and within of themselves, you adding more to your savings, that doesn't fight inflation. We're not talking about that because your savings, the money that you have should be working. It should be making you money. And then you should add more money into that.
It should at least be maintaining and retaining its purchasing power.
Yeah, which is
At the very minimum.
which you would have to be making the same amount as whatever the real inflation cost is to be able to do that. Adding more money into it doesn't affect inflation because you can still add more money in if your money's working and it's making you as much as inflation.
Okay, so look, inflation is definitely one fundamental issue.
Cost of living inflation.
Right. Cost of living inflation. I think it's very hard for people to understand. And even me, like when I started looking into this, I can't explain to you how many videos I watched just on this topic before I started to be like, okay, I'm starting to get it. And I still don't feel like I've got it. So it's okay if you guys are not fully following the conversation. sometimes I feel like this stuff is made extra technical just so that this knowledge and information stays amongst the elite. Like, for example, quantitative easing. Like, why not just say we're printing money?
Yeah.
Like, it's literally that. You're printing money. But they use these terms so that I think the conversation can just fly above the head of,
because they know that because look what happened when Margaret Thatcher went to introduce a poll tax. They were
right.
bro. It was crazy.
Right.
Real protest, not this modern day where you have to apply for permission and then they give you permission. They tell you how many people can come. They tell you where you can go. And then you go there and you stand and they literally put you in a naughty corner. Say, look, this is your little square. This is how many people can turn up. This is what you can do. This is what you're not allowed to do. You're literally there. You're just standing there going, free.
That's another podcast.
There's music and okay, that's a joke. It's a joke.
So look, inflation. Another thing is taxes. And I think this is the thing that a lot of people have been talking about recently. Many who might be familiar with Gary economics and the stuff that he's been talking about recently. This is the thing that he's also talking about, right? Which is that taxes are just going crazy. Like working class people and middle class people are really suffering because they're paying, crazy amounts of tax, whereas the wealthy are not paying their due in terms of tax. We'll talk about that secondly, but let's just talk about how bad taxes are. Sam, from the US.
Income taxes are really bad. In average, federal income tax is 22 to 24% for the middle class. Someone earning $70,000 to $90,000.
So a quarter of the income.
Quarter of the income is gone in income taxes.
Yeah.
And then you got property taxes.
Okay.
Property tax in Florida, pre-COVID, was $2,000 average. Now it's $15,000.
Is this annually, monthly?
Annually.
Annually.
From $2,000 to $15,000 in Florida coastal areas just in the last 4 years. Why? Because a lot of people moved in to Florida during COVID. Now they're moving out because of the hurricanes and insurance costs going up and all that. Now the government is in deficit. So they are increasing the property taxes. Same thing in a middle class city where I'm from, in Warren, Michigan. The property taxes went up from $3,000 to $9,000.
Wow!
Because of government mismanagement, they're in a deficit right now.
3x.
So 3x property taxes. The insurances are going up like crazy in Florida and Texas.
So let's just say you're being taxed $22,000 in terms of income tax, and you're paying an extra $9,000.
Yes.
Annually for your property, which is 31, 32.
Then your insurance is also going up, the property insurance.
Okay.
Because in Florida, there's lots of frauds with the insurance. So a lot of these big insurance companies are leaving the state. Now the other insurance companies are charging whatever they want, right? So the insurance cost is going up from somewhere from $3,000, $4,000 a year to like $10,000, $12,000 a year in some of the cities in Florida.
So in some cases, we're talking 30 to 40K is taxes and insurance.
Taxes and insurance.
For guys that have a job.
For guys that have a job.
Entrepreneurs have a bunch of other taxes on top of that. But so then, just so we can just bring this back.
They also have a bunch of loopholes as well.
Huh?
They also have a bunch of loopholes as well.
Yeah, you're right. For those who know. Look, so if you're making 100K, about 30 to 40K has been taxed. From what's left over, inflation is killing that by 15%
That's
every year.
only with federal income tax. Some states, like California, has a 13% state tax on top of it.
Oh, wow.
So if you're living in California, that's another $13,000 gone.
Okay.
And other states also have state taxes. Florida does not have state taxes, but other states also have state taxes.
as well, value-added tax, right?
6% in Michigan, 9% in New York.
So every purchase?
Every purchase. So $1 coffee is $0.09 in New York by default.
And in Michigan?
$1.06 is 6% in Michigan.
And
but
Florida?
There's VETs. Florida, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, but there are.
But that's crazy, right? Because every single transaction you're purchasing, right, or making, has got VAT added to it practically as well. So in essence, half your money or just under half your money has been taxed. And then whatever's left over, inflation, if your salary is not going up by 15% every single year, the purchasing power is actually being diminished by 15%.
15% just to keep up.
Just to keep up.
Just to maintain your living standard. You're not taking any good vacations with your kids and wives. You're not sending your kids to private school. There's craziness going on in America in public schools. In order for you to afford private school, where let's say Islamic private school or whatever private school where they're not going to teach you those crazy stuff, it's $800 to $1,200 a month per kid.
And it's going up annually.
So you cannot
because of inflation.
Yes.
They're trying to keep up to keep up with inflation. Quick question though. Let's just say a person's got 100K or 200K in his bank account in America. Are there any taxes on that?
Just leaving it in the bank account? No.
So inflation is a real threat.
Inflation is the silent thief. That's that means nothing. What is 100 to 20?
But taxes prevent you adding more money
exactly
to your savings.
So
exactly.
when I mentioned tax, what I was referring to was inheritance tax.
Okay.
Because all of this that you mentioned, this is to do with income. When that transfers over from you to the beneficiaries, your children, etc., that's when you get hit with the daddy of
How
all
much
taxes.
is the inheritance tax?
So you're saying this is the biggest of all taxes?
I mean, when you consider that this is money you've already paid tax on.
And
when
then
you
saved up.
When you earn this money from your salary,
And inflation's hit it.
Inflation has punched it up.
Oof,
You've already. This is now like This is what's left.
You've already gone through all the torture with that.
You fought in the battle, and this is right now. You've got a little bit left.
You think it's your prized possession.
You think now this is it now. Alhamdulillah.
My children are going to get it.
My children are going to get it. No, they're not. They're not.
So how much are they going to get?
So in
Let's
the
say
UK,
100,000.
So in the UK, the threshold is £325,000. If you have less than £325,000, your children won't pay any taxes on that. That can be transferred free. If you have above 325,000, you get 40%.
What?
40%
on whatever you have. So let's just say, let's take £1 million, for example, right? A person has £1 million. When they die, £270,000 would have to be paid in taxes to the UK government.
Death tax, man.
270,000. Now let's say, because look, most people, especially let's just take a middle class family in the UK, their wealth is not going to be liquid. It's going to be in property. Most people, the baby boomer generation, they took out mortgages when property prices were extremely low. They benefited hugely from the crazy jump in property prices. That's where the majority of their savings are. It's not in a bank account. It's not somewhere. It's in the value of their property. Whether that's one property worth $1 million, whether that's two worth 500 each, or whatever figure. Your children, most likely, especially for middle class, they're not going to have £270,000 lying around to pay that tax and keep the asset. No, they're going to have to sell the asset. So once they sell those houses and then they pay the taxes, what's left? 630,000, right? 630,000 is what's left. Let's say you've got 4 children. You split that among them. It's about 150, 160 grand per child. 150 grand.
And you have worked your whole life.
160 grand. That's what they're left with. You had $1 million. You had $1 million. You had $1 million. And each child is going to get 150, 160 grand, right? That can go like that, bro. You buy a car, that's 30, 40 grand gone. You put, let's just say,
have debts that
what do most people do?
Student loans, maybe.
What most people do? They're gonna, quickly do, they're gonna pay off the student loans. They probably have debts they're gonna pay off. They probably a debt to get married. They're gonna refurbish their house. Let's get this, let's get that. Before you know it, that money's gone. That money's gone, and that is what brings me on to. We can go back to the taxes thing as well, but that brings me on to the third one, which is lack of financial education and discipline in your children, also in you as well, because you can lose that 100 grand in your account because you might do something stupid. But for your children. There's a stat. It's called wealth persistence, right? You've probably heard this. It was mentioned in that podcast with Gary Stevenson as well, Diary CEO.
As in throughout generations?
He mentioned 40%. But when I was looking online, I found that it's actually 30%, meaning 70% of people who inherit wealth will lose it in that generation. In the second generation, it's 90%.
Wow. I mean, look, it even happened, Bani Umayyah, the kings, the Umayyad dynasty, Sulaiman ibn Abdul Malik, Ibn Marwan.
Yeah.
After his death, his children were poor, begging people on the streets, and he was a king.
Bro, your children have a 70% chance of dropping out of whatever bracket you're in today. If you're in the upper class, they've got a 70% chance of going down to middle class. If you're in middle class, they've got a 70% chance of going back down to working class. Your grandchildren, 90% chance, bro.
Mm-hmm. Because
easy money comes easy and it goes easy. They've inherited this money. If you don't teach them, number one, it depends on the amount as well. So depending on how much you have.
I don't want to digress here, but is this not proof then that the whole concept about wealthy people are just wealthy because they just have wealth that they inherit, that they retain? Is this not proof against that?
65% of people that are ultra high net worth individuals are self-made. 65% with Allah's permission.
Yeah.
Another point to that question you mentioned, what happened when government printed all that money and gave $2,400 a month to people? What happened? They went to Amazon.
So we're going back to inflation.
Yeah, they went to Amazon and purchased, right? So the wealth trickled up to the wealthy. Do you understand, Sheikh?
Yeah, so they printed all this money.
Money gave to the poor and the middle class,
to give
let's
it back
say.
to the rich guys.
Exactly.
But also, I mean,
it's a game we're in.
that's one element of it. There's another element of it as well, which is in the UK, at least anyway, a lot of people, that was replacing their salary. So it wasn't extra income that they had that they could buy, 100%. Things. So their salary was being replaced. So they were still paying that. That money that came in now is going to their landlord. Is going to the bills that they have to pay British Gas. British Gas reported record profits, bro. Record profits, because that money ultimately was going to them. But the rich people, they were also getting furlough. But their furlough, they own their houses. They don't have a mortgage to pay off. So when they're getting that money, they've actually accumulated wealth now. They can save that money.
They actually invested.
They can invest that money, make more money. Or they can splash out and spend it on luxury goods. Because for them, it wasn't a necessity.
Look, can I be honest with you? It sounds like we're attacking rich people right now, right? And I understand that the way the system is... I'm just addressing. I'm saying the way that the system is set up is definitely unfair, right? And that comes down to mismanagement from like the government, right? That's a bad decision that the government made. But fundamentally, there seems to be a trend of like, people that have got money are the enemy and they're the criminal. And this tends to be something that's pretty common, like in the UK. In America, they blame government. In the UK, traditionally, they blame rich people.
This is one area as well that I feel like Gary Stevenson, he stumbles a bit. Yeah. This is where my thought process diverges.
And this is actually very dangerous because this kind of stuff actually destroys civilizations. What's his name? Ray Dalio and his book. What's it called?
The Market Shift, where he discusses the second book, right?
The Changing World Order,
yes,
right?
Changing World Order.
He discusses how one of the things that threatens a civilization is when the poor or the people that are not so well off become disenfranchised with the wealthy. And then what naturally happens is that you tax the wealthy, right? And then this ultimately results in conflict that can lead to bloodshed. But the reason why that's, the rich people have a hack right now, they could just leave because of globalization. They could just leave the UK. And they are. Like in the UK, every 40 minutes, a millionaire is leaving the UK. And what that ultimately does is that takes people that actually stimulate the economy by, creating jobs, by, creating products that are being sold and purchased and whatnot out. And then they start hiring people in the Philippines, in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, and Nigeria, and Kenya for like a tenth of the price. That takes away more jobs that cause people to become even more broke. The point that I'm mentioning here, not that I'm really like fussed about whether the British civilization collapses or not. It's just that that's not the solution. The solution is not just to look at the rich people as their enemy, even though there are definitely some enemies amongst them. There are those that are stingy. They don't give charity. They don't.
The problem isn't rich people. It's people that are not rich and righteous. If you're rich and righteous, you'll be looking out for society. You'll be looking out for the greater good. Whereas people that are rich in this day and age, for them, the kuffar I'm talking about and the fusaq, for them, it's about me.
And this is one of the things, like, when you talk about the things that the maqasid of the Sharia, the things that the Sharia came to protect your religion, your life, your wealth, your sanity, as in your mental well-being, and your honor. Every hukum in the religion comes back to these 5 things. Right? Alcohol is haram because it protects your sanity. Right? Zina is haram because it protects your honor. Murder is haram, protects your life, right? And so on and so forth. From the things that protects your wealth, and I realized this by looking at what's happening right now. Protects your wealth is zakat. Zakat protects wealth. How? Because zakat is just 2.5%, man, for those that have money, like assets, or those that are engaged in buying and selling inventory stocks, urud al-tijara as it's called, right? So we're not talking about those that have zakat on cattle and fruits and seeds. Normal zakat, but 2.5%. SubhanAllah, man, if the wealthy, if like billionaires pay 2.5%, which is not a lot, like the government's the reason why a lot of wealthy people are ducking and dodging paying taxes is because the taxes are ridiculous. 5%, 10%, 20%, right? But no, this is just 2.5.
And they're necessarily not against paying taxes. They want a flat tax rate.
Yeah.
They want something like, they don't want to be penalized for making
more money, right? Whereas Islam, it's zakat. It's not a tax; it's a charity, right? And we won't go into that discussion. But zakat it's a sadaqah. It's a charity that's obligatory, that Allah has made obligatory on His slaves. But it's just 2.5. It's flat, right? It's flat, and it's actually even amazing because we were talking about it yesterday, right? Like how in things like fruits and seeds, thimar and hubub, zakat on them is 10%. And zakat in terms of your money and the money that you make from your work or your business is 2.5. And that's because Allah Azza wa Jal, He wanted to make it easy for the slaves because, look, harvesting crops is easier than running a business. There's a lot more effort and energy that gets put into making that money, taking care of that money, growing that money, protecting that money. It's only 2.5%. 2.5% is not a lot. And the thing about the deen is that Allah Azza wa Jal connected the zakat not just to you're giving money to a state that's going to use it for whatever. No. This is connected to your akhirah. It's connected to your iman. So people are motivated to pay. You know what's actually crazy when you think about it, Sheikh, is that wealthy people do actually give a lot of charity. They actually do. Like, as in, I was just reading Stephen Schwartzman's, you recommended Whatever It Takes.
Whatever it takes, yeah.
The co-founder and CEO of Blackstone.
Yep.
The guy gives crazy charity, bro. 100 million he gives here. 160 million he gives here. Another 150 million he gives here, right? For charitable causes that he believes are beneficial, right? Like, for example, universities and this, that.
University in China.
Right, university in China and MIT. He funded a whole laboratory there. So they actually give money, right? And imagine that you could kind of just reframe the distribution of wealth as charity as opposed to tax. Because a lot of the times, bro, government is mismanaging the taxes coming in the first place. That's why the deen is so beautiful, because it tells you, look, it's only 2.5, it's flat. Number one. Number two, it's only for people that have
above the nisab.
Above the nisab, which is above the threshold, which means...
And even the way the threshold works is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, you have to maintain being above the nisab for an entire year.
If you dip below it once,
your year restarts.
Your annual cycle restarts. Number three, it's very clear who the money's going to. There's only these categories. It can only go to them, right? And you know what it does? It creates love and bonds between those in the community, because the people who are poor are being told, you know what? I'm actually being taken care of by these rich guys. They actually provide for me. I don't have food in the fridge. I can't pay for my what?
It's like that brother, you said he was sleeping in his car and a brother donated 18,000.
18,000, right?
Pay for his entire year's worth of rent.
So you don't get that ill feeling.
You don't get that ill feeling. And it actually solves poverty. You know, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, who was one of the great khulafa, the Muslim rulers, I think year 98 after the Hijrah of the Prophet ﷺ, he received a letter from his governor in Iraq, which is the entire region of Iraq that he managed. He said the zakat money is in surplus. There is no one left to give the zakat to, i.e. there is no one poor left. You know what he said? He said, go and put the food on the top of the mountain so the birds have food to eat. Like, zakat helps solve poverty to the point where now
feeding the animals
are being fed, right? So
just to reiterate one more point as well regarding zakat and how it's so fair. It's not the same as taxes in the sense that taxes, you get paid every month, you're paying out of your salary, let's just say 20% or whatever it might be. It's not that you'd pay 2.5% every month. No.
You're right.
On the day, once 1 year has passed, whatever you have left on that day, whatever you have, so you could be earning, let's say you earn 100 grand.
It's only on savings.
But your expenses are, it's on wealth. And the reason why I find this so crazy is because may Allah guide Gary Stevenson, he literally says tax wealth, not work.
Yeah.
Current taxes.
Yeah.
Your work is being taxed.
Not revenue, not income.
You're penalized for working harder.
For working.
Yeah.
Zakat is not. Zakat's on your wealth. What you have left at the end after 1 year, as it passed, you've spent all of your money and so on and so forth. Whatever you have left, your savings, your wealth. Because even assets, if you have an asset, but that asset is, let's say, for example, a rental car. You have a car that you own that is out on rent. It's making you money. It's part of your business. You don't have to pay zakat on the value of that car. If you're selling a car, that's different. Of course, then you have to pay it. Yeah. But you have to do it on Bitcoin, on money savings that you have in your account, so on and so forth. So
assets.
That's why millionaires, for them, no, but if your asset is working, because a lot of millionaires, their money's working for them. Yeah. You wouldn't have to pay zakat on that money that's working for you.
What do you mean by that?
Like, let's say, for example, a rental car.
A rental car, okay, yeah.
So, like, for example, you invested your money. Let's say you got 10,000. You spent 8,000 on a rental car that's generating you, I don't know, X amount of thing. The income that that plus your savings, whatever you have left on that one day, you have to pay zakat on that.
Yes.
You don't even have to pay on the value of the car.
Yeah.
So millionaires or wealthy people are encouraged to put their money into the economy, which creates jobs, which creates more wealth, because the reason why these governments say that they do inflation is because they say we want to encourage growth. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to encourage people through riba.
Yeah, and zakat actually prevents hoarding. It prevents hoarding because
Exactly.
the person knows that if I just keep my wealth there,
Exactly.
actually zakat will eat away at it
Exactly.
annually. But
In 40 years, it'll be done.
Right.
Exactly.
So let me use it. Let me put it back in. Let me invest. So it just creates this beautiful stimulation of money within a society. So honestly, wallah, it's becoming even more and more clear how Islam is happening, man.
One last point to mention regarding the inheritance tax in the UK. So there is a way around it, right? There is a way around it. If you gift your asset, let's say you have a house. If you gift that house to your children during your life and you don't die within 7 years of giving that gift, they can get that house inheritance tax free. But 7 years. Allah knows if you're going to survive another 7 years after giving it, right? And if you give it as a gift and you die within the first 3 years, they pay the full 40%. If you die in the 4th year, 32%. They reduce it by 8% each year after that. So 5th year, 24%. If it's the 6th year, 16%. 7th year, 8%.
This is theft,
8th
man.
year. So it's like, even if you gift it to them, because their thing is, how do we know that you didn't gift it just to avoid the taxes? So what we're going to do is, if you die after that, you gifted it. But here's the other issue, right? You gift your property to your children. In this day and age, unfortunately, how many parents can trust their children?
No.
That if I gift it to them, man's just going to sell it and buy a Bugatti. Man's going to say, yeah, bro, come on, I want to buy a Ferrari, bro. Or he's going to say, okay, parents, you guys going to go live in a nursing home.
Yeah,
I want to put the house on rent and I want to get the income from it.
Look, there's another issue that we didn't talk about, which is for those that are involved in interest. Yeah. People are involved in debt, which just debt actually, and then there's debt with interest. So the more inflation is taking away the purchasing power of the money that you have, right? It's taking away the purchasing power of your active income and also your savings. Tax is helping, is inhibiting you from actually adding to your savings in the first place, right? Then you're making silly decisions because you're not educated about how to use money. So what you've got left over, which is highly taxed, highly inflated, a huge portion that you're using to pay off debt, because the whole system encourages you to just be in debt.
Student loans and
credit
even
cards.
now, like, bro.
And then those debts are what? Being charged interest.
Yeah.
So it's actually a very frightening situation because, especially for those that have savings, very quickly you might find yourself in a situation where that 100K actually has to get used to pay off these high interest rates that you're paying, these debts that you have, before inflation even kills it. Because as everything starts to get tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter, you're like, 2-3 years from now, you might wake up and think, bro, I just need to just quickly make this payment and just clear this debt, and it can get wiped out like that. And what people don't realize is that this can happen overnight. When the 2008 crisis happened, bro, overnight, bro, people wiped out. I remember it was in 2008 when I went to university and my English legal system teacher was going to kill us off just a month before, professor, sorry. She was going to kill us off just before the year started because all of her savings got wiped out. And she was an old woman, she was like 60 plus. Imagine having lived your whole life, worked towards your... bro, she was going to commit suicide, bro. And people did commit suicide.
Yeah, they did.
People did commit suicide.
Many people did.
Do you understand?
That's the other thing. So look, things like that can happen, which is mismanagement by big, huge investment banks, stuff like that, and governments as well, etc. But there's another thing that can happen as well, which is governments can change the law. It's 325,000 inheritance tax allowance now. What's to say they won't change it to 500? To 200,000, 100,000. What's to say they won't change it from 40% to 50%? Governments can do whatever they want.
And I think also another point to mention here, right, is that...
Sorry, can I just finish the point?
Okay, sorry.
Because if you look at what the Labour government did just recently...
What did they do?
In the last year with the farmers. Before, land, there was no inheritance tax on land. They changed it now. So now farmers have been protesting. I don't know if you've seen it, like driving tractors through central London, like parking up, blocking roads, this, that, whatnot. Yeah, doing the mad thing.
You're fully up to date.
Because their thing is, bro, now we're going to have to sell our farmland to be able to give out to... And a lot of them, like, for example, even Jeremy Clarkson, he's a funny guy. He actually came out one time in an interview a few years ago and said, the reason why I bought land is because to avoid inheritance tax. So now he has to pay it. But now he's saying, no, farmland, there's no, it's hard and this and that one, or whatever it is. But the bottom line is, the rules can change. This is not a fixed game. This is not the Sharia. At least 2.5% of zakat will never change. To Yawm al-Qiyamah, it will never change. The rules, Your tax-free allowance of 12,500 on your income, that can change. Like, governments can do whatever they want.
And also, I think a really important point to mention is because everyone's in this kind of mode. You didn't finish your point?
Can I make one last?
Yeah, you can.
One last connected point, sorry.
Go on.
One last connected point. Which is, there's always an incentive for the government to change, because we like to think that we like to, but the West likes to think that it's a democracy. That the power is in the people. The people are the people. It's always, everything that they do is in the best interest of the people. But that's a lie. That's an outright lie. Whether you like it or not, democracy is a fallacy, bro. Really and truly, it's an oligarchy.
Yeah.
It's an oligarchy. What's the difference between Elon Musk and Roman Abramovich, the guy who owns Chelsea? One, the guy's called an oligarch. He's evil. He uses money to influence the Russian government and this and that. And the other guy's a patriot. The other guy's, mashallah, he's in the government. He's doing the exact same. There's no difference. The only difference is one's Western and one's non-Western. So in the West, they're called allies of the government,
Lobbyists.
and lobbyists and all this. And in the anyone that's not the West, they're given these oligarchs. The same way, bro. If they're coming into your country, you call them immigrants. If you're going to their country, I'm an expatriate. I'm an expat. Just to make yourself feel a bit better. Because ultimately, actually, it's the rich and the powerful that fund these parties. And Labour, Conservative, all the Conservative is funded by huge amounts by the construction sector.
And that's the point that I was just going to make, right? Coming back to those that are watching. I noticed that, when we talk about these type of things, there's going to be two types of people. There's either those that are going to take action, take accountability and say, you know what, bro, I need to protect my assets. I need to find investments that are going to help me make returns. I need to work harder. I need to beat the rate of inflation, increase my cash flow, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. And there are those that are...
I trust the government.
Say that again?
The government will help. I trust the government.
No, not even I trust the government. I don't think anyone trusts the government, but it's more like...
there's people that do.
Blame the government and the rich people.
And
right?
But then there's a third party
okay,
who actually trusts the government. The government has my best interest. I'm going to change my vote next election. I'm going to vote for the other party and watch all my problems are going to go away.
We're not even going to talk to them. They're foolish, right? Me, like but they're those that are throwing their shoe at the TV whenever they talk. Elon Musk comes onto. Even I don't like Elon Musk as it is anyway. But the whole concept of it's the rich people. They're the ones that did this to us. Victims, right?
Victims.
They kind of are victims.
No, they are. Even Gary Seabass, I'll be honest with you, he pushes victim mentality. I don't like it.
Yeah. I don't like it.
I don't like it.
So I like the more empowering thing, which is let's take things into our hands with Allah's permission and make results. And the reason why I want to say that it doesn't benefit you, bro, to be a victim is because the point that you just mentioned. But I'll tell you for free right now, the government right now is not going to change the game against the rich people. They are the ones that control the government, right?
Who donates to Labour? Who donates to Conservatives? It's not you, my bro. It's not you, with all due respect. On your £30,000 salary a year, you're not donating. You're not making any huge contribution towards Labour, towards their campaign, towards the Republicans and this. It's Elon Musk, bro. Elon Musk was out there giving millions away at events for people to vote for Trump. So you don't think Trump's if Trump has to decide between should I pass a law that's going to benefit Elon?
Which phone call he's going to take?
Or should I pass a law that's going to benefit... Look, use the car tariffs as an example. He said any car that's not manufactured in the US, 25% tariff. Elon Musk benefits hugely because his cars are going to stay the same price. Every other car manufacturer, they have to increase the new car prices by 25%.
Including General Motors, Ford, everything.
The American public are the ones who are going to suffer.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are going to suffer. Not even General Motors and stuff. If their cars are made in the US, the new ones,
but they make parts in Mexico
and stuff
and Canada.
Yeah, but
so that will be tariff 20%.
So that will be tariff.
Really only Elon Musk benefits from that. Only Tesla.
I mean, I think there's a few others that are exclusively but they're small. But Elon Musk is the primary one.
Oh wow! That's crazy.
So my point is, as an average American now, when you want to go buy a new car,
he just lined that up for Elon.
That's what I'm saying. But average American now, you're going to have to pay 25% more for a car, so your savings are now also going to go down even more because you're going to use that money to buy a car.
So the point is, don't be a victim. And get it crack and get to work.
Can I mention one quick point?
Of course you can.
And put your money to work.
Yeah. On the middle class issue, especially in America, for the middle class, you're on a benefits cliff. What do I mean by that? For the lower income people, for the working class, you're getting all the benefits, the Medicaids, the health insurance, the food stamps, and many other benefits, right? For the wealthy, probably they don't need those benefits. But for the middle class, the government treats you like you're wealthy, but you treat yourself like you're poor. Government strips away the medical insurance. So now you're paying private healthcare premiums, which are very high.
Oh,
That's
wow.
so profound.
And now you're paying for all the food, but the guy making just 10,000 below you. He meets the threshold. He's
Oh,
getting
wow.
food stamps, medical, so he's actually making more than you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like so that benefits cliff is crazy. So 60. So in middle
So you're
class,
encouraged to not make money then?
exactly. So in middle class, within middle class, let's say there's 3 levels of middle class. People that are just touching middle class. Let's say graduate a finance degree. I got a decent job somewhere, doing some analysis and whatnot, making 60, 70 grand a year. I'm done. Because I'm just above not getting all those benefits. But now when you take those benefits plus the taxes plus all of the above that we mentioned, I'm actually making less than the guy who's working in a factory making $35,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, even in the UK, there's a similar concept. Once you reach £100,000 per year, it becomes very interesting. Because of things like there's, I think, 30 hours of free childcare that you can get per year if you're earning below 100 grand.
Oh, wow.
You lose that. Effectively, you lose about 6K. Going from 99,000 salary to 100,000 salary, you lose about 6K. Because, and also you start to lose your tax-free allowance, 12,500, you start to lose that.
Yeah.
So you're going to be paying 20% on all of your money.
All of your money.
And then you're paying 40% on the higher rate on the rest of it.
It's crazy, huh?
So if you get a pay rise from 99 to 101, you've actually taken a pay loss. You've actually taken a hit. So it's like just the way the whole system is, it's rigged. That's the bottom line. It's rigged. But don't be a victim. Don't just sit there getting angry, blaming other people. Point is, you need to take action. What action? That's what we're going to come to now.
On that note, we know a guy called Anti-Tax Man who helps people with their taxes.
I can vouch for him.
Yeah, and helps them get back their PAYE tax for the last 2 years as well.
You can make tax, what's it called? Tax claims? No, tax rebates.
Rebates,
Tax rebates.
So, Alarm Badik, I will take a commission for that, just so we will split it amongst ourselves.
What's that? Or if he saves the money.
If he saves the money, I'm just being transparent.
Sorry, not if he saves you money. If he recovers money.
Shall I not mention that?
No, you can mention it. Why not? Oh, you mean the commission?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, cut that. I'm 100%. I've already decided to cut that out. But my point is that it's not that he's going to save you money.
Yeah.
He's going to recover money that you already paid in taxes.
He can help you save as well by showing you how to be more efficient with your taxes.
Oh, but yeah, he can help you do that moving forward. But I'm saying what blows my mind
He'll
is
cure it and prevent it.
Yeah.
he will go in, see the taxes you've paid. Because a lot of people don't realize taxes, a lot of the time, it's based on estimations. You know that, right? They look at what you're earning today, especially if you're not on a fixed salary. Because this used to happen to me, right? I used to work in a call center. It was 0-hour contract. Some months I would do more hours, some do less hours. I was taxed based on if I do that many hours for 12 months. That's the rate of tax that I'm paying. So, but that month I could have just done a lot of hours. I was, off of college, so I was working a lot of hours. They taxed me extra. And then I'm trusting them to then calculate at the end of the year and say, "Oh yeah, by the way, sorry, we owe you this much or this." A lot of the time, bro, they get it wrong. And you once you recalculate it, but people don't have the time, the resources. But especially if you're a high income earner, well, you could be losing out on thousands of pounds.
So we'll link his details below, inshallah.
Yeah, so look, as we've already established, your money that's sitting in your account is at risk from inflation, cost of living, taxes, all the other things. So what to do? What's the solution? The bottom line is you have to make sure that your money is making at least 15%, to be on the safe side, at least 15%, just to be able to maintain what you already have.
Just to hedge against the inflation.
Just to hedge against the inflation. Just to make sure your purchasing power doesn't decrease. That's what you need to do. Then you've got all the other risks that we mentioned. Chances of losing your job, your income goes down the drain. You're going to have to dip into your savings. All these other issues that can happen. And you need to do it fast.
So if the money has to be bringing in 15% return in within itself, then let's come to you, Akhi, because obviously this is something that Allah Barik you've done, 50% plus returns for yourself and your investors, Allah Barik. You started off working class, like struggling financially, and Allah Barik now you're worth over $10 million, Allah Barik, and you're
working class. Would you say you were even in poverty?
Poverty, yeah.
No, he was below working class, bro.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford nappies, right? You said you couldn't afford nappies. I remember in the podcast. But the guy was not working class.
Sorry,
bro.
you're right. Yeah.
He was in poverty.
And now, Allah Barik, your whole your expenses are all based on your passive income. Allah Barik. And this is the case for yourself and also your investors.
Yes.
Before we go into actually just the specifics, just give us a summary of your story, like how you started off throwing out trash, man, at the age of 16 in a restaurant at 1 a.m. in the morning, cleaning up people's puke. It talks about that journey and how you got here, because the reason why I find your story so inspiring is that, Allah barik, you literally took the trajectory that ultimately helps people solve the problem that we're talking about right now. And you started at the bottom of the ladder, and now you worked your way up to the top. So
At the top, Sheikh, we still have a long way to go.
Of course, but in terms of like, you know, you've escaped the middle class, alhamdulillah. And you've not just done it for yourself, you've done it for your investors. Allahumma barik. Multiple people who've invested with you in your projects are now, Allahumma barik, they've entered the wealthy class, Allahumma barik. So just talk to us a bit about that humble beginning, because I don't want people to look and think, you know what, oh, it cannot be done, we're all stuck, we're in trouble. No, here's an example of a man who did it.
I want to start from the end, Sheikh. Like, alhamdulillah, I moved to Dubai with the family May or June of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to make the move solely on my passive income, on the investments that I have made pre-COVID, during COVID, and a little bit after COVID. Just on those income, I'm still living off.
Can you give some examples? Like, what did you invest in? What's the? You don't mention the numbers, but just what did you invest?
I make 6 figures now, monthly, just on passive income.
Allahumma barik.
Alhamdulillah. And these are all real estate related investments.
Allahumma barik.
If not for that, the way the real estate business, the business I was in, changed. Like you said, the rules and laws always changed. Because real estate industry is very much sensitive to the interest rate, right? So the interest rate's gone up a lot in the US. So people's affordability decreased. Housing prices went up. So the sales volume, Sheikh, I don't think I've mentioned it with you, brothers. The sales volume, I'm not saying the housing price. The sales volume in the US has gone down, is the lowest in the last 40 years.
Oh, wow.
So buying and selling of real estate is the lowest in America in the last 40 years.
Wow.
People can't afford it.
Yeah, which directly affects our, let's say, escrow business, all real estate related business, property management, construction management, everything took a hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was not going to be able to make this move if not for investments and passive income with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But of course, alhamdulillah, when I came to the US, you mentioned 2008, I came in 2009. And coming from Bangladesh, you think you just go to America, everything will be solved, right? All your problems, all your financial problems will be solved. Little do you know.
There's a Bengali brother in my building who's just begging me like to help him get a job in UK or Ireland. I keep telling him, bro, it doesn't work like that, man. You're going to come and you're going to see UK is not the place to be, bro.
Yeah, because the impression from there is the West will solve all the problems, right? So 2009 came. That was the worst time to move to the US because of the recession. Took me, I think, 4 months to find the first job. I was 16 years old, and it was not through applying or anything, just door knocking in different jobs, like completely randomly walking the whole Manhattan. Just like door knocking. And of course, they would also leave your number, we'll give you a call. So finally, I get a call, and it was in that restaurant. It's called French Roast. Yeah, French Roast in downtown Manhattan. It was a French restaurant. It used to be open 24 hours, right? The first shift, they said $4.65 an hour for you. If you make any tips, you keep it. Your shift is going to be 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. So that's where it started. And as you said, Sheikh, the job was, it was called the bus boy. But literally, you would bus less tables, but clean more bathrooms and pukes and throw out garbage cans because there's barely anyone coming. They kept it open for all the drunkards to come and use the restroom and like buy some burgers so they feel full and go to sleep, right? Mm-hmm. So that's where it started, Sheikh, alhamdulillah. And you know, when we were mentioning people were getting those $2,400 checks, instead of looking at it, oh, the government is giving money, let's go buy Louis Vuitton and let's go this. What did you do? Instead of blaming the wealthy and the government, what did you do with that money? Did you add any new skill? Did you invest in any courses, classes to get new skills? Did you go to any networking events? Did you go to any seminars?
Touch some stock? Did you buy a domain?
What did you do? Yeah. What did you do, right? So always my goal was to, Sheikh, add one more new skill. So I was reading a lot of books, going to these networking events, classes, then moved to Michigan. I don't know how much you want me to go in, but I think everybody knows, all your audience knows the story, Sheikh. But alhamdulillah, through real estate sales and climbing the ascension, alhamdulillah, in a very comfortable position.
So then you managed to get out of poverty into, Allahumma barik, real estate.
Yeah.
You were, at the time, you were just buying and selling, right? And
commission,
and you would have then at that point entered the middle class.
Yes, just like that phase. Like first year of real estate, my real estate commission was $72,000 in 2015. So that was the first year of being in the middle class. But all that was gone. I used to write Before a check would come in, you know, I used to like, okay, $7,000 from selling this house. Before like 30 days out, I would write, what are the expenses? Because there's no savings, because it's a lot of pent up demand of all the expenses, all the debts that you have to pay.
All the debts that you've accumulated.
Yeah, so it takes a couple of years just for you to like get to zero.
Yeah.
And by the time you get to zero, you're putting all this money back into the business.
100%.
So business becomes a beast in and of itself that you need to keep feeding. So there's never a time where you realize like, oh, I'm a $100,000 earner.
So how did you make the leap from being in that position to then having, you know, 6 figures a month in passive income at Lambarik? What was the fundamental difference?
Fundamental difference is, Sheikh, every time I stacked a little bit of money, I used to put it in what I call a sacred account.
Okay.
You know, it's like basically a checking account, but a checking account that does not have a debit card, that does not have online ID. Like I couldn't go online.
For the UK viewers, a current account.
Yes,
we call it
current account. Yes,
checking.
But a current account with limitations that I imposed on myself, restrictions on myself. No online access.
Yeah.
That means I cannot transfer money in and out. No checkbooks, no debit cards. So the only way to do anything is go to the branch.
Crazy.
Lots of frictions I created for myself, right? And when that account anytime hit 100,000, I had to zero it out. Complete zero.
Okay.
Buy investments. Did I make some mistakes in the early days? I did. But as soon as I changed the trajectory that I'm going to only invest in real estate, thing that I know, thing that I understand, that thing that is tangible and hard, alhamdulillah, it's been a blessing. But that was the rule. Go from 0 to 100, active income. As soon as it reaches 100, put it in investment. Go back to 0. So I always stayed broke. Even when I had, let's say, 80,000 in that bank account, I felt like I'm broke because in my actual current account, the running account that I was using, Sheikh, I never had more than $5,000, $6,000. You know? And that's with my bills, gas, and everything going in, going out, going in, going out. But a heavy portion of my income, like 40% of every check, would go into that sacred account.
Allah Mubarak. So the question I have for you right now is that why did you pick real estate? The thing here is that this is 100% riba free. There's no riba involved in the way that you do it, Alam. And we can talk a bit more about that as the conversation goes on. But there are so many different things that you can possibly invest in. And this is not us putting anything down. You know, there are people that are making loads of money in all these different, you know, asset classes. But why did you choose real estate for yourself?
I followed the wealthy sheikh. And
that's very interesting.
The surest way and the most effective way, I think you mentioned, even Alex Hormozi said that, is to make wealth is through real estate.
Yeah, the most millionaires in the world
are made through real estate.
Are made through real estate.
Yes, because it's tangible, hard asset. It's not going anywhere.
Okay.
With your startups, with your tech companies, it's great. I have invested in a couple of startups, tech companies. Alhamdulillah, I'm a shareholder at Wahed as well. But these are very risky. Rules might change, laws might change. So investing in businesses and with the AIs, the automations that are coming, things are changing rapidly. Real estate is hard and tangible asset.
Also, it's like how much of the economy is real estate?
It's all real estate,
amount, bro. A huge, like a lot of the finances that we have today in the banking world and this and that one. Okay, it's all based on mortgages, CDOs and CDOs and
even Blackstone, if I'm not mistaken, is the biggest private equity.
$1.2 trillion assets under management, Blackstone. Out of that, 700 billion is in real estate.
Wow.
Yeah, even McDonald's, it's a real estate company.
McDonald's is a real estate company.
They're not fast food. They're a real estate company.
They're a real estate
like
company.
so, that pie is so huge that it's 0.0000000000001% of a massive pie is going to be more than having 10% of a way smaller pie.
Also, excuse me for my ignorance, right? But just from the point that I'm standing, it seems like the asset class that requires the least amount of technical knowledge is also real estate. Like if you want to invest,
our uncles would understand it, our grandfathers understand it,
very traditional.
Our nephews will understand it.
Yeah, but for example, crypto, it's a bit complicated. Investing in business, like what are the market conditions? There's so many different things.
Real estate and gold are the two that's like they've stood the test of time.
But gold is more of a way to kind of, even though it does go up in value slowly, but it's more a way to preserve wealth than actually.
You just keep it for end of times.
Yeah.
No, but my point is that they're the two that have stood the test of time.
I think people who say I'm going to invest my wealth on gold, I don't know if that's accurate.
No, it is still an investment. It's just a different type of investment. You're not expecting crazy returns. It's it's more of for people to invest. I mean, no, but some people do actually invest in gold, like expecting it to, and silver, expecting returns, hoping for returns. And if you look at it, it has beaten inflation.
Yeah.
Way over. Like if you were to buy gold, like the gold that our parents bought when they were younger and they handed down, like it's worth a lot of money now.
As a store of wealth, if you just want to store wealth, you buy some gold.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not, I wouldn't take it as an investment. It's more of a store of wealth, better than keeping cash.
Because here, like every year or two, you can get 50%, 60%, 30%, 20% returns.
Yes.
And then that just keeps compounding every year.
So basically,
gold just won't be able to catch up.
I'll give you guys an example. So alhamdulillah, I started developing since 2019, but really got into it from 2021, right? Okay. But the investors that have started investing with me, they did not start investing with me in the developments per se. Uh-huh. They have been investing with me since 2014, 15, fixing and flipping, buying rental homes and whatnot. Uh-huh. But if somebody starts investing, and some investors have started since 2021, from how the market looks like right now and the developments that we're doing right now, we're able to give around 50% return, sometimes more. Most of the time it's more, sometimes a little bit less, but 50% average easily we're able to give in 2 years on our development investments, right? Mm-hmm. So if somebody puts in $100,000 today, let's say they're in their early 20s, Sheikh, okay? By their mid-30s, in 14 years, so basically 7 rounds, if they keep reinvesting, because inshallah, we're going to keep doing developments. We started in the US, now we're in Dubai, we're going to take over all of Middle East, inshallah. Saudi Arabia, lots of other target markets we're going to keep developing. And the way that we always structure these deals, we want our investors to make minimum 50%, inshallah, right? So if that was to happen, if somebody invests $100,000 in their early 20s, makes 50% every 2 years, okay, every 2 years. So it's going to be 100.
I want to see if the calculation I did is correct. What's the number?
It's going to be 150,000, let's say in 2 years, right? Uh-huh. Then they reinvest that 150 back. It's going to be 225,000 in 4 years. And if they keep reinvesting like that, it will be $1.7 million.
Wow.
I got 2.5.
2.5?
After 7 rounds.
After 7 rounds. That 100,000?
Yeah, so 1.7 was on the 6th round. And then the 7th round.
Okay, so then maybe we're getting the rounds wrong, but 1.7 million to 2.5 million in 7 rounds in 14 years.
Well,
that 100,000. No more additional contribution.
What is it by the 10th round?
1, 2, 3, 8.6 million.
8.6 million.
So in 20 years. Allah bet.
In 10 years.
In 10 years.
This isn't 10 rounds?
10 rounds.
10 rounds. Yeah.
So in 20 years.
20 years. So you know what's crazy? That beats all this stock market, you know.
And inshallah, the reason I did not do 10 rounds, Sheikh,
that's crazy. Just starting off with 100K?
Yeah, just start off with 100K.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The reason I did not do 10 rounds, Sheikh, just so, because we don't know how long the projection of what we're going to do is.
Yeah.
So let's say 7 rounds, 15 years, I easily see myself and us doing what we're doing. And I see we're able to produce this type of results. But even if we go with the number $1.7 million, Sheikh, look what you can get done. If you're in your early 20s or even mid 20s or even early 30s, right? What can you get done with that $1.7 million? If you have 3 kids, you can actually put them in private school, private college, all 3 of them without student loans. And create impact, right? You can actually take a vacation every year, 25, 30 grand, like a luxurious vacation with your family of 4, 5, every year. And everything else, Sheikh. Everything else that we're struggling
to the ummah.
Yes, zakat. Think about the zakat you'll pay.
Even sadaqah.
Even I just realized you're not adding an extra 100K every.
No, that's the key point. It's 100,000 that you contribute.
100,000.
And you're just disciplined with that money. And we're not saying give it to us for 14 years.
But if you're adding an extra 100K or 200K every
that
round,
just compounds even further. Even further.
So,
and I want to throw one example, Sheikh. Somebody has done it. Somebody has done it exactly the formula I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
One of my clients, okay? So many has done it, but I want to use an example of one client who basically is not an entrepreneur, not a business owner. He works for, I don't want to give the company name, but a major, we actually mentioned the name, a major auto company in the US, okay? One of the top 3 companies, okay, in the auto industry in the US. He's an engineer. So he makes...
Just an engineer, so not executive.
No, he's just an engineer. He started the job. He just retired. When he started like a normal engineer. When he was retiring, he was making $120,000 a year. After 30 years in that company.
Wow.
He was making $120,000 a year.
And like just under half that is being taxed.
Yeah, of course. And all that we have mentioned already. But alhamdulillah, his net worth right now is 7 million plus.
Allah, I bet it.
just through investments and primarily real estate investments.
Wow, Allah barik.
It has compounded to an unbelievable level. And let's call him, his last name is Hussein. So Mr. Hussein, basically, one of the largest donors in our local masajid.
Wow.
MashaAllah, he has 3 sons. All 3 are physicians in America.
Allah barik.
Student loan free.
Wow, Allah barik.
So the man, mashallah, is an achiever, standout family. Look at that family. Every Friday, those, they have family dinners in the masjid Saturdays. Him and his wife are in the front line helping.
So let's say he takes that 7 million and he puts that in for another project. 50% of that would take him to?
Oh, that's crazy.
11 million, right?
Yes. And so, Sheikh, now he has assets. It's not like liquid cash.
People don't understand compounding.
Yep.
I think this is a really important thing for people to understand, that when you look at investments, okay, I'm going to get 50% this year. That might not sound like a lot. 50% of 100K might not sound like a lot in the first year. You made an extra 50K. But compounding, what's a
Well, at that level, you wouldn't even need to do that. As in, once you reach that kind of level, you can
1 million, 2 million.
You can opt for a safer option. You can opt for almost guaranteed
level, right? But it's hard,
10, 15, 20%.
It's hard to see at the beginning.
Yes, I'm saying. So if you're in the middle class, because obviously he's now, mashallah.
What's that analogy of if you place if you double the amount of rice on each square on a chessboard, but by the time you get to the end of it, it's like more grains of rice than there is on the planet, or something like that. Something crazy like that.
Yeah, it will be crazy. You won't be able to fit it in the regular chess.
Exponential growth is crazy. It's crazy. And fundamentally, that's what investments is. That, I guess, that's what's allowed you to now have your investments fund along barik your life, your lifestyle.
Another important point, Sheikh, before we move on. In the beginning, when you say there might not be a lot of motivation, 100K becomes 150K in 2 years. It's still great. Sharia compliant investment backed by real estate. But zero effort. But for some people, it might not look great. But there's 2 and other motivations that inspired me to be patient with the investments in real estate. Is the time freedom and location freedom. Literally. And these are the 2 biggest freedoms we can have, right? Investing in real estate gives you true time freedom and location freedom. You could be literally anywhere and your passive income is still coming. And it gives you control over time because you're not trading time for money anymore.
Yep. So look, the real estate game though has lots of different verticals.
Sorry, can I mention one more point?
Go on.
With regards to what you were saying.
You don't have to, sorry, just say it.
Yeah, with the brother, it's man, isn't it? With the brother, what's his name?
Mr. Hussein.
Mr. Hussein. So he works as an engineer, right?
Yeah.
And he got
just retired.
He had his money, and he put the money. He had just retired. Actually, job security, especially in this day and age, it's not very high. You could have a job today, it's paying you a lot of money, and then, bro, tomorrow you lose your job, bro.
Absolutely not. Do you know, Sheikh, how he was able to maintain, so sorry to interject, this 30 years engineering? Because he's part of an union. If you understand how the auto industry works in America, in Michigan, if you're part of the union, even, let's say, I'm not saying Mr. Hussein, if let's say your skills are outdated, they cannot fire you. So that's how you get. But if it was
it's the same with train drivers, it's one of the only jobs in the UK. I used to be a train driver. That beats inflation every year. And guess what? They get attacked for it each and every single year, because every year the higher ups, they try to say, we're not going to give you that pay rise to match inflation or to beat inflation, because their thing is, but we don't want inflation. We want inflation plus a few percentages, because we know that inflation is a boom. It will be a real pay deduction. We'll be getting docked, even though technically your money's getting up slightly. But in real terms, so they get stick for it every year. I remember, bro, as a train driver, I used to see people talking about train drivers so greedy and this and that, and I'm thinking, bro. And it's one of them ones where people don't realize it, right? They would go on strike.
Yeah.
As soon as the union, militant, bro, militant. They make a picket line, to actually stop other people going into work as well, who are not part of the union.
Transportation is the backbone of
transportation is the backbone, bro. You bring it to its knees.
You're done.
But the point is, they have to go through all of that hassle just to be able to maintain it. My point is, with this brother, he got in, he managed to do it. Today, you might be, even recently, look at all the tech layoffs. Hundreds of people.
That's what I'm saying. There's no job security. There is no job security.
So while you're able to, you've got savings and you've got an income that's coming in to replenish you that you can live off of, now is the time. Because as we said earlier, right, this again, I said a point where you mentioned about wealth inequality, and that's a bit of a digression. It is, but it also isn't. It isn't from the angle that wealth inequality is causing people that are very wealthy their wealth is going to grow even more. And it's like a black hole. It has to be sucked from somewhere. That's going to be coming from the middle class.
Yeah.
You are going to lose because if you lose your job, your savings are going to be depleted on what? Survival. Before you know it, you're in the working class. You're going to be looking for a job. There's how many people now that were earning high six figures, 300-400 grand, are now taking entry-level jobs because they can't get a job at that level anymore. And now it's like your lifestyle changed now though, bro. Your wife's used to driving that Porsche. Your children become used to private school. So are you going to take your children out of private school, put them in state school now? Are you going to throw them to the dogs? No, you don't want to do that. So now your savings are going to be getting depleted.
No,
just because you have savings today and you got a high income today, don't think it's going to be like that tomorrow.
Another thing that's very important to mention, man, is the importance of shukr.
Even with business.
It's a very important point to mention shukr, man. You know, I came across a statement of the Salaf that really helped me look at blessings completely differently. You know, the Salaf would say that a blessing that Allah gives you is like a wild animal.
Oof.
If you don't tie it down with shukr, it will escape.
Oof.
The same when you go hunting, you go through all that effort to hunt the animal. And if you don't tie it down, it will run away from you. Likewise, every blessing is Allah gave it to you, He will quickly take it away if you're not grateful for it. Like fundamentally, Allah said, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. If you're grateful, I will increase you. إِن كَفَرْتُمْ. But if you are ungrateful, إِنَّ عَذَابِي لَشَدِيدٌ. My punishment is very severe. So a lot of the blessings that we're also, a lot of what we're talking about here, and I think this deserves its own podcast in more detail, but gratitude, man. If you're not grateful, you will find it being taken away. It'll be depleted, it'll be depleted, it'll be depleted as well.
Can I mention a real story, Sheikh, on this point real quick?
Yeah.
So one of my cousins, right, he had a very good job, like a C-suite executive job in one of these Middle Eastern countries. Then the complete track, like the trend of the job changed. So he got laid off like overnight pretty much.
Oh no.
They were paying him for 2 maids, drivers, the complete lifestyle, plus like a crazy salary.
Wow.
And he had to go back to UK. It was kind of like a depression phase for him because going from this lifestyle in a Middle Eastern country, going back to UK, in the UK he was not finding any jobs that matched, you know, what he was getting, you know. Then ultimately his wife got a job and she was out of job for 10-15 years, but they were both applying because it's a desperate situation. His wife got a job in the line in Saudi. Neo. Yeah. Now she works there and he's in the UK. It's a crazy situation.
They have children?
They have children.
Children in the UK?
Children in the UK. So it's
their mother's not in their life?
Yeah. Crazy situation. He's trying to figure out from their mind, may Allah help them, it's a temporary solution. But look what can happen.
Allah make it easy for you.
I mean,
what can happen? SubhanAllah, Sheikh. So this is why it's so important to live frugal, live broke, and invest. You don't have to see anything right now. Invest in good vehicles.
Because ultimately the point of it is you want to get to a point where you can have time freedom, location freedom, money freedom.
100%.
Even if you were to leave work, you can retire basically.
Exactly.
You can retire and still say there's enough wealth for my family where and then the doors is funny. Once you reach a certain level, the doors of no taxes open up for you. Now you can move to a different country, take all your wealth with you, move to a different country.
And give zakat.
You can give zakat and do all these other things. And now you won't pay any taxes at all. So now you don't have to worry about inheritance tax and all these other things. So the bottom line is, the solution is, if you are sitting on a 6-figure saving, you need to be putting it to work. You can't be letting it sit there and be sucked away, depleted, because eventually, if not in your generation, in the next generation, it will be gone. At the same time, another point to mention is, because obviously this might be, for a lot of people, it's a bit of a shock, right? And it comes to the system, and you also want to keep in mind and remember, overall, ultimately as a Muslim, the real objective why you're here is, like, even if you were to lose every single penny, but you still have your iman, you're rich. And if you have all the money in the world, but you then become money hungry and obsessed, and people, start to do all sorts of haram, and doors of haram also open, and so on and so forth. That's also not what we're trying to say here. What we're talking about is in the confines of the religion has come to protect your wealth.
No, but also the Prophet connected kufr and poverty together, because it's easier to fall into kufr when you're struggling to eat, man. Like when financially things are a bit more smooth, then you can focus on your ibadah and everything. And of course, that doesn't mean a poor person is excused to fall into kufr. No, but it's just that there are problems with being rich. For example, you can forget about the akhirah and that becomes a fitna for you. But there's also problems with poverty, which is that if you spend all day, every day just making ends meet, then where's the khushu in the salah? Right? That's why people don't go pray Jummah or don't go pray the salah because my boss is going to sack me, you know?
Can't go to Umrah and
exactly. Just coming back, Sam,
Hajj.
I want to touch on a couple points about real estate. There are many different verticals in real estate. People have probably heard about property management, investing in Airbnb, short-term rentals, you know, buying houses, flipping houses, putting on rent. And there's development. You talk about 50% returns, right? This is unheard of.
In 2 years.
In 2 years,
roughly,
Allah Mabarak. I think in the UK, man, I think it's like, was it 5% people make? 5%? If they, you know, through investment in real estate.
Still better than making zero, keeping it in the bank account.
Of course. But it's not even keeping up to date with inflation. Rate of inflation. But 50%, where's that? What is the mechanism that you're using to drive those type of returns for yourself and your investors?
So let's say, Sheikh, this rug, right? You can get best types of rugs in Persia. Right? Now, a Persian rug, there are many ways to get it. I can order a Persian rug sitting in America on Amazon, and it will be delivered to me at a retail price.
$2,000, $1,000.
Yeah, completely at a retail price. So that's still good. I got the Persian rug, right? But that's like buying a rental property from the market from a real estate agent.
Okay.
You still got the property, but you paid the retail price.
Okay, as in the end consumer.
The end consumer, right? So you just bought one property from a real estate agent from the market. Still good. You got the asset just like the Persian rug, but you paid the retail price. Now let's take one step further. Let's say the same Persian rug. Now I go to one of the seaports in America.
The point just to mention is that if you then want to sell that rug on, the margin is going to be less.
Very less.
Right.
Very
Likewise,
less.
if you buy the property as an end consumer and then you want to make money from it,
of course,
the margin,
because you're already buying at the retail.
Buying it at the retail price.
So you have to wait for it to appreciate.
Okay.
You cannot sell overnight for a higher price because you're buying at the retail, right? Now let's say we take one step further. You go to one of the seaports of America. Let's say you go to New York and you buy it from a wholesaler, the same Persian rug. You actually get it for a lower price, right? So that's the example of buying a real estate from a wholesaler or from an auction. Like you go to auction, you buy the property, you actually get it lower than you would from the market from a real estate agent.
Makes sense.
Right? Now, the same Persian rug, let's take a step further.
Okay.
Let's say you cross the Atlantic Ocean. You go to Morocco right now, Moroccan seaport, and you buy the same Persian rug from the Moroccan seaport. That's the example of buying the real estate from, let's say, directly from the investor.
Okay.
Let's say you have a property, Sheikh, and you were talking about it in one of our majlis, and let's say Brother Fawaz heard it, like, hey, Sheikh, I'm interested on buy your apartment. So you guys just make a deal. So Fawaz is actually buying, is the example of buying Persian rug from the Moroccan seaport. Okay. Now let's take even another step farther. Let's say you buy it from Port Jebel Ali or from Dera. Okay. Same Persian rug from Dubai. So that's like you're investing in real estate in the pre-construction phase.
Okay.
You're financing the construction of it. You make a lot of profit.
Okay.
But the final is you go to Persia, okay, and you actually partner up with that Persian rug producer and produce the rug. That's when you're getting it at the cheapest and you're profiting when people buy in every single stage. So that's the example of investing in a real estate in the development phase.
So it's a combination between buying the asset at the lowest price,
yes,
whilst also having the greatest margin.
Yep.
Right?
Because you're buying the dirt.
Okay.
You're literally, what is development? You're buying the dirt. And then you're putting a concept together. What can we do with this dirt or on this dirt? You put the concept, you get the concept approved by the city, by the township, by the municipality, and then you start building on it. So you're producing the asset that's going to go through all these chains that we just mentioned, but you are at the top of the food chain. You're at the top of the food chain. You're first online, and then everybody else is making money. So you charge the highest margin out the door, and then boom, boom, little bit margin here, little bit margin here, then all the way to that Amazon retailer, the lowest margin.
So you basically and your investors profit throughout the whole chain.
So the whole chain. So I started my career just doing that, the Amazon retailer list. I was a real estate agent selling properties, right? So if you're a real estate agent watching this, you got to start there. That's what I think makes the most sense, because you need all the experiences, build your reputation, build your credibility, and then climb up the ladder of how to do developments yourself, right? And once you're doing developments yourself, you get investors to partner up with you in that phase.
So why is this not common? Because like even you don't really hear this as a as investing in development.
Because I'll tell you why. Because why?
When you hear people have capital, they invest in buying properties, they flip houses, they buy at auctions.
It's not accessible, isn't it? The market.
Yes.
Why is it not accessible?
So Sheikh, look, why am I making the investors partner up with me in this project? For example, we're looking at a project right now. I'm not gonna disclose the location. It's one of the top locations of Dubai. Okay, the land itself is gonna cost us, somewhere around 35 million dirham. Again, don't want to disclose too much. I'm going to put around 12.5% to 15% of my own money on this project, just buying the land. The rest, I could have. What other developers do is go to the bank and take a loan at only 5-6% rate, right? But we don't want to touch RIBA. And that's why those developers, you never hear partnering up with them in the development phase. Probably in the pre-construction phase when they do off-plan, but not in the development phase, right?
Why are they going to be paying you 50% returns when they can pay a bank 6% returns?
6% returns.
Yeah, and why am I paying you 50% returns? Twofold. Because you're partnering up with me, and depending on how we're structuring, that's what it comes up to. Even if we do a, let's say, 70-30 profit split, where 70% goes to our development company and 30% to you, still comes out to around 50%
ROI.
50% ROI. That's how it translates to that. We're doing a split, but that's what it translates to.
Because you place higher value on their money, because riba-free money is hard to come by.
100%.
Riba-free investment is hard to come by. Riba investment riba loans from a bank, easy. Go apply for the bank, show them your bank statements. They'll give you millions, especially after you do one. Once you, because you got a track record.
Yes.
Once you got a track record, they will open the floodgates for you.
And Sheikh, I might be unorthodox, but I wanted to just try and see, what do the banks here think I'm qualified for in their sense to get just money from them? So I gave all my business statements and everything, when I came here 6-7 months ago. And that time the income was lower than what it is now. But still, at that point, Sheikh, they gave me a 5 million USD loan.
Oh, wow.
Pre-approved.
As they approved it, you didn't take it?
Of course. I wanted to see, because you have to learn the system, right? You have to learn the system of what do they ask for, what do they take. So just based on, I did not even show a lot of things, plus the income has increased, 5 million USD. So taking loans, if you have the credibility from bank side, it's nothing. So
this is like it's a fund basically that you've created, Allah Barik, and you partner up with your investors.
Yep.
So phenomenal. And I think this is why, like, even I've never heard of 50% returns in real estate. It just doesn't exist, because the guys that are at that level to make those type of returns at the development stage, they're going to take loans from banks and they only have to pay 6%, whereas, here, you're obviously going to be giving 50% away.
Yes, alhamdulillah, Sheikh. And way when you say it's riba-free investment, already you attract, and I have not touched riba at all since 2018, all the investments and everything that we're doing. So automatically you attract the caliber of people, the blessings you get, things that you learn just by being with them adds a lot of value to the project.
Through you, Allah has made quite a lot of people millionaires.
Alhamdulillah, Sheikh, with Allah's permission, yeah.
I've met one of them as well not too long ago.
Yep.
He just recently reinvested 3 million back with you.
Yep.
How does that feel? Like Allah, to help be a means that Allah used to help people become multimillionaires.
Yeah, actually, Sheikh, this is like a very deep question. I think more than excitement, it scares me, because it gives me a lot of pressure and responsibility. I have to keep performing. The moment, Sheikh, I have a little doubt, like a 1% shadow of a doubt on my capacity, I'll stop doing what I'm doing. I will stop taking investors' money. I'll completely stop doing what I'm doing. The moment I have doubt on my capacity, on the market or anything. So it's a big amana. It's a lot of responsibility. When people ask me, so what do you do? What's your primary job? It's like I do just like 60 to 70 hours a week of just research. Not meetings, just research. Like I'm going blind, just
70 hours
of research. Because to say yes to one deal, I underwrite probably, I'm not exaggerating, at least 200 deals that I say no to.
Wow.
It was a hard time for my wife to understand that in the beginning when we transitioned from sales and, like sales is like 60-day cycle, right? To development. Wow. She's like, all day you're in computer. Like, so
Running the numbers.
they're just running the numbers. And it's not like you run this number, then you close this deal. No, you're running numbers of 200 deals. Nothing's happening. You're controlling your emotions. Like I have right now 4 deals on the table. All 4 look good on the paper. I can only go with one because that's what I can afford. All 4 look good. So which one do I pick? And I cannot be emotional, So I'm just negotiating hard. Yeah. Yeah, because the guys on the other side of the table selling you dreams. Like, hey, your sign is going to be by this highway if you get this one. You're going to be able to do this. You're going to be on this news channel. Because their job is to sell you the land.
Yeah.
So they're doing everything possible. You have to keep your ego out of the equation, pure numbers, pure, just cool, calm, collected.
How hard that is, yeah.
Oh, yes. And then you just repeat this process, so many deals. Even the meeting that I was telling you, mashallah, he manages a Islamic fund, $50 billion fund, Islamic, mashallah, complete investments. So he's the head of global operations for the company. So I was with him. So he brought a deal to the table. Maybe it's not going to work out, right? But I spent 2-3 hours with him, right? So this is how it is. You're spending a lot of time researching, understanding the deal, but we're picking like the very, very best ones, and the rest we leave it with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
What was there a story of one of your investors that really impacted you? Like someone who...
Many, Sheikh, many. But the investors, for example, the guys that have started with me at Amin Realty, for example, Nabil, his story is really inspiring, mashallah. Young kid, started when he was 18, just trying to figure it out, how to live the next day. He's from the edges, mashallah, he's from Detroit. So how to just survive the next day without fighting, without getting into any trouble. To now, mashallah, I think his real estate portfolio alone is $1 million plus. And mashallah, doing great things. He's also, mashallah, raising funds for his projects in Detroit. So all the things that I have done.
So this brother came from the streets?
From the streets, Sheikh. And he joined our company. He was the first one who joined our company when he was 18 years old.
And he's now got a portfolio of $1 million plus.
Yes.
Allahumma barik.
Alhamdulillah. And doing his own projects in Detroit, mashallah. So things like that. And also, many people, we were the first Muslims to open up title company in Michigan. Now many are opening. So seeing those, like as long as we're all serving the same cause, which is helping Muslims, keeping them away from riba, like it just makes me happy. Alhamdulillah.
Wow. No, honestly, I think you're doing a huge service, man, because everyone understands real estate. It's been a very understood asset class.
Yeah.
People have always wanted to get involved in it. They've made money, but to do it without riba, like even uncles with beards, man, they've got properties that they've paid.
Yes, and they make sense of it. That's the thing, Sheikh. They don't, because there's 2 things. One, you're knowing you're sinning. You feel so bad about it, but you just cannot stop doing it, And one is making sense of the sin. That's where it's so scary for me. Like when you start making sense, well, no, it makes sense for this. Like you start arguing. And one is like, I know many people, like their eyes get teary, man. Like I have to get out of this interest, And there's other guys, oh, how? What? Like, I don't know, bro. I don't even talk with them. I don't know how or what. It's just, at this time, even with ChatGPT and G-Rock, like you don't ask how and what for these interest questions. Like type it in, ChatGPT will tell you it's not halal, So I don't have to have a discussion with you anymore.
So barakallah fi man, you're doing a great service, man. Inshallah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the links towards your projects below if anyone's interested in having a conversation with you about investing in your projects, those who have a minimum 100k liquid,
ready to invest. We only want serious people.
Yeah, within the next 30 days, I believe, right?
Inshallah, yeah.
We'll put the link below, inshallah ta'ala. And they can check that out, inshallah. But I just want to also kind of address those that might not have that type of capital right now, right? There are obviously people who don't have 100k to invest. What do they do, Abu Bakr?
So look, there's a few options, right? Number one is what Sam mentioned, is what he did, which is he would lock money away, savings account, let it get to 100k, then come with them. Because that kind of makes sense, right? What you mentioned right now about real estate. Real estate, that's a big game. To get to that game, you need to, it's like, when you go to, obviously we don't condone going to casinos, there's a high rollers table. You can only go there if you got a certain amount of money to play that game. You can make the most money in that game, but you can only get in with a certain amount of capital. Real estate is like that as well. There are other smaller investments you can make, right? Bitcoin, not everyone's cryptocurrency literate. a lot of people end up diving into day trading, meme coins. They lose all their money as
And
well.
stuff that's
It's
haram.
risky.
They end up doing stuff
So
that's
stuff
haram.
that's haram as well. Business. There's a lot of people that are entrepreneurs that are watching this that might have 6 figures saved up, and they're saying, "Bro, I can invest that money to ads for my business, and I'll generate a higher revenue than what you're talking about." But is that as sure? Is that as obviously with Allah's permission? Only Allah knows exactly what's going to happen. But with an asset-backed investment, it's very different. It's very different.
But my point is that for those who don't have that type of money,
For those that don't have that type of
I
money,
feel like entrepreneurship, man, they have to double down on it, bro. Like, as an entrepreneurship is the thing that will help you get that initial cash flow.
Or just, bro, you have to live as frugal as possible.
Yeah.
Cut out any unnecessary expense. Try and maximize your income, whether if that means taking multiple jobs or whatever else it might mean. Obviously, we're talking in the context of you without compromising on your deen. Doesn't mean that you start missing your salah now because I need to make as much money as possible.
I think
and all
that's
these other
really
things.
hard, man. I think that's.
But for a lot of people, actually, look, we know, right? Entrepreneurship, 90% of people are going to fail.
It depends. Like, for example, being a solopreneur. Like, this is the
even
thing.
as a solopreneur, the majority of people are going to fail. That's the reality. The reality is, we have to talk in real terms. The reality
percentage? Most people fail in entrepreneurship.
In the first year, I think, was it 60, 50, was it 50% within?
Which, but here's the thing, right? So this is one of the reasons why I love this thing. I think that's been popularized by Alex Ramosi, which is the info space, right? The info space where there are those that are teaching you different business opportunities, but not where it's just like a course, go through it, but there's a whole coaching program, a whole training program, which is why brothers like Jamal on his econ program, he's got 8.5% success rate, Allah bet it. And your brother, well, he currently, even though he won't, I don't think he'll maintain 100% success rate, but having been in operation since I think August, September, Allah bet it, for his influencer marketing agency that helps people set up, he's got 100% success rate, Allah bet it. In all transparency, they have a crazy qualification process, so they only select people that are
likely to succeed.
The same way Harvard and Oxford won't let anyone in. They'll only let the creme de la creme in, which is why they can boast like a 90% success rate in terms of people getting 6-figure jobs after they graduate. But point being is that those opportunities, I think, are golden, man. Like, I'm not denying that entrepreneurship is hard and the odds are stacked against you. But I think telling people to be frugal to the point where life's already hard, man. Does that make sense? And delayed gratification, this day and age, means people's dopamine receptors are just bad, bro. Yeah, it's not very likely. I think the definitely tell people to be smarter with your money. Don't spend money where you don't have to. But people have to find ways to make more money. There's cutting costs, but there's also increasing revenue. And I honestly love what like Abu Lahi is doing. I love what Jamal's doing because they're helping people set this up with their full-time jobs.
Yep.
Like, work a full-time job and work 3 to 4 hours a day. Yeah, it's hard. But now you've just doubled your income, and then before you know it, like, they got guys making 50k a month, 80k a month. Jamal, some of his students have sold their businesses. He had one student that sold his econ business for 9 million. 900,000. For 1.8 million. For 5.2 million, one of his students sold his econ brand for. So point being is that, yeah, definitely, you're right. It's it's risky. I think they say in America, 0.1% of people will earn $1 million a month, right? And you don't have to earn $1 million a month, but point we're making there is that becoming rich through business is hard. But I don't think it's ever been easier, man. I don't think it's ever been easier.
There are certain doors that have opened, and definitely certain industries are a lot easier to break into, both for entrepreneurship and also for jobs as well. Like, if you're what was the guy's name who was on the podcast with Gary on the thing?
Daniel Priestley.
So he mentioned something, right, which I agreed with very much. He said, right now there are 2 economies running side by side. There's this traditional economy, the industrial boom, the industrial revolution economy,
the old economy.
That's slowly going down.
Yeah.
There's the digital economy, which is on the rise. You have to look at which economy am I in right now. If you're working in retail, if you're working in these regular jobs that have been around for I don't know how many odd years,
100+ years,
those jobs in the West, mark my words, they will end up being how labor jobs are right now in the UAE.
And robots are going to do it.
No, robots. That's
you got AI
possibly,
stores where they don't even have
eventually.
cashiers. The Amazon Fresh store.
Robots, but I'm saying even right now you're seeing immigrants are taking those jobs and they're willing to take less than minimum wage. And eventually it's going to get to a point where actually those jobs are going to be outsourced to the Philippines. Why is a company going to hire you in the UK?
Robots.
And bro, like with all due respect, you're entitled. You have all this in your mind. This stuff. Like a Filipino works twice as hard as you, gets paid a quarter of the money that you're willing to take. As an entrepreneur, why would I choose to hire you over them? It's just common sense. So these old school jobs, these old school industries, both for entrepreneurship as well, they're going to be going down the drain. Tech, these kind of digital fields for jobs and also for entrepreneurship. As you said, there's a lot of online jobs and opportunities are available. And knowledge has never been so easy to acquire either. In this day and age, you've got internet.
I've never seen youngsters making type of money there, like brother Arman, who's now my neighbor, Allah Barik. He makes 400,000 a month, akhi.
MashaAllah.
400,000 a month, Allah Barik, of, I guess technically he's e-com, right? Pharmaceutical e-com space. And he's 19, bro. Allah Barik, this is it. I don't think there's any excuses anymore. So what we'll do is, but the reason why I keep mentioning brother Abu Lahya and I mentioned brother Jamal is because one is e-com and one is service based, right? Without going into the technicalities of the two, but one is where you sell products, right? You have inventory that you sell, and the other is that you provide a service. And Abu Lahya, he's chosen a service that is like very, very, very simple, like pretty much like anyone can understand it. You're an agency for influencers. You find brands that want influencers, and you find influencers that want brands. You just pair them and take commission. And Allah Barik, he also shows you how to navigate in a way that's halal. We avoid the haram brands, and you don't do things in a way that's haram. He's got 100% success rate there, and Jamal with the 89% success rate. I'm only mentioning them because I felt like it would be a travesty to tell you about the problem and then not show you how you can solve it. So I'll link them below. You can check them out, do your own research. They have very tough qualifications. But with that said, that doesn't undermine the point that you mentioned, which is, good old fashioned, cut costs, cut expenses.
Well, unfortunately, it's the working class that go broke trying to look rich. Who's buying Gucci? Who's buying all these the newest trainers? Who's getting a haircut twice a week?
Wallahi, all the richest people I know here in Dubai, I've never seen them wear designer. I've never seen Sam wear designer. Never seen Wad wear designer.
Who's driving a car that's financed? A £70,000 Mercedes that they finance.
Even if you've seen White's car, this brother, he's got $160 million fund, bro. Allah Barik. He owns part of some of the biggest tech companies in the Middle East. Allah Barik. He just got an Audi.
Bro, I drive an MG. Sam drives a Geely. You bought it outright, right? It's like $20,000, brand new, and you're driving around in a £70,000 financed Audi RS3. Bro, you need a slap, man. This is the problem. Financial education, ego, all these things.
Yes, I'm a big proponent, Sheikh, investing in yourself for the education, the intelligence.
Save up that money. Yep. Save up your money. It's hard. Save it up. Don't eat out. Eat frugal. Live frugal. And then invest that money into yourself on a smaller scale. You can't put 100k into a real estate investment. No problem. Invest in yourself, your education. Invest in small amounts. Like, as you said.
Wallahi, invest in a book, bro. A book, akhi,
yes,
is in 300 pages, 200 pages, a man puts his entire life's experience on a particular topic. And he says, hey, you go take it. And you can buy that for $12, $13.
Yeah. Bro. Or invest in a skill. Learn how to code. Coding, I guarantee you'll make more money coding than you will whatever you do. Oh, but I've got a degree in art and I have to do art, bruv. Burn your art, bro. Your portraits are not going to do anything for you. I promise you that now. Pivot right now. Call your parents and be like, bro, you got your degree. That's spilt milk already. Don't cry over that. Now let's try and recover.
Get a new skill.
And get into tech. Start earning money.
Simple, soft
then
skills.
Invest that money.
Soft skills. Communication. Public speaking. Negotiation. These are soft skills. These are not hard skills like coding and things like that. Even those soft skills, like I shake hands with people, they don't even know how to shake hands, how to have a conversation, how to carry a conversation.
I don't know why. I think in the day and age of AI, I think those are going to be some of the most valuable skills because people
soft skills,
human touch.
Yep.
And everything's done by robots. When human beings deal with human beings, people are, I think the ones who are going to dominate are the ones who have those communication skills, those soft skills that you're talking about. Well, brothers, barakallah feek, man. I think this has been a very, very awesome, educational podcast. We've talked about the problem. We've talked about the solution. And by no means are we saying that the only way to make passive income is through real estate. But the reason I wanted to have Sam here is because Allah Barak, we have a brother who's done it for himself and for his investors consistently. I think none of your investments up until now have ever lost money.
Never.
Right?
Alhamdulillah.
Allahumma barik. May Allah make that track record consistent for you.
Ameen.
We've also mentioned for those who don't have that type of liquid cash, how you can get it is by, saving, being smart with your money, not buying Gucci and Louis Vuitton, and possibly diving into entrepreneurship. You've got great mentors with 89%, 100% success rates in the likes of Abu Lahya and Jamal. Will put the links to their sites below if you're interested in setting up a business. Look, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard, right? But honestly, poverty is close to disbelief, man. Like Allah, the Prophet said, you seek refuge every day. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-kufri wal-faqr. Allah, we seek refuge with you from disbelief and poverty. And in this day and age, where the wealthy are calling the shots, man, if Muslims want leverage, we cannot afford to be poor. We can't afford to. And again, we didn't go into this in any depth. We should have done it a lot more, but I guess we can have our own podcast to discuss this. The importance of shukr. One of the greatest ways to get return on investment is just to be grateful. Because we're talking about all these opportunities. Allah could just bring you an opportunity that we didn't even mention, right? That just multiplies. Because Allah said, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. If you're grateful, I will increase you, and there is no limit to Allah's increase. There's no limit. So if you are grateful to your Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala, those opportunities to have that return will just open up. Will just open up from places and ways and avenues that you never imagined, like Allah promised.
If you're looking for a place to start, then I highly recommend buy the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. Read that as a starting point, mindset-wise. Very good starting point.
Jameel. With that said, may Allah bless you guys and grant you Jannatul Firdaus and protect your wealth and put barakah in it for you.
Ameen.
And allow the Muslims to serve Allah's deen through wealth. And when they get that wealth, to give that zakat, to then give it back to those that are in need. Because there are people that are in need, man.
Ameen.
With that said, Subhanak Allahumma bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.